All right. Hello and welcome to the 16th episode of the Burnham Brothers College Football Podcast. And we are very excited today to be joined by my former boss at South Florida, Coach Skip Holtz. And he's actually, Coach, I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about how am I going to introduce Coach Holtz and what do you've coached at UConn and East Carolina and USF and Louisiana Tech and are now the head coach of the USFL, UFL, Birmingham Stallions, and you've won the championship 3 of 4 seasons there. You are the Bill Belichick of the USFL.
I don't know if that Bill Belichick and Skip Holtz, if those words go in many sentences together. But hey, let me add, what big time. Y'all started. I got sponsor ads. I got Burnham Brothers. I got a countdown. I was like, holy cow. I mean, I feel like I ought to be in Bristol in studio or something.
Hey, fake it until you make it, Coach. Fake it until you make it. We had somebody that was nice enough to put this banner together for us. And we got Dan Mowry, former Florida State player, sponsoring the show. We got Todd Harrell, played baseball at Florida State, home instead. And then Shane's got his company, Ascension Sports. So yeah, we are fancy, Coach. And now we overcome that with our quality of product and our lack of personality. But yeah, so we're trying to have a good time. But hey, we appreciate you.
I think it's awesome you guys are doing this together. I'm in a couple ventures with my brother, and you know what? Just as we get older and we all drift away. But to do this and to give you all this opportunity to spend this time together. I mean, your passion with football, family. I mean, how awesome is this? I commend you. This is awesome. I'm glad I could be part of it.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, one of the reasons we thought about doing this show was to have guys like you on here, guys that we have known, that we've crossed paths with over the course of our football life. And going back with you, it goes back really to 1987. I'm not sure that knew who we were in 1987. Yep. In fact, somebody was telling me a funny story yesterday about you arriving in Tallahassee, pulling up to the Moore Center, talking to a friend of the program. And so I was telling him we're having you on the show. And he goes because you ever heard of the story about Skip coming to Florida State? And I said, I've heard Coach Holtz talk about it, yada, yada, yada. She goes, but no, when he physically showed up. And I was like, no. He goes, so what? Tell me about it. He goes, your dad was sitting in his office and Coach Bowden walks in and they're sitting there talking. All of a sudden they hear this music coming from outside the Moore Center and they both look out the window and Dad goes, who is that? And Coach Bowden goes, that's your new GA, that's Skip Holtz. And you showed up in a convertible, apparently blasting rock and roll music at the Moore Center. Is that true? Is that a true story or has it been fabricated over the years?
You know, I can't justify, I can't document that happened upstairs in that conversation, but I would be hard pressed to say I wasn't turning the music up really loud in that convertible when I got down to Tallahassee. I would have a hard time denying that. But yeah, and I tell that story all the time. When first day I walked into the football office, I walked in to report for duty, and I walked into the front desk, and this little girl that ran the Garnet Gold Girls was back there named Jennifer Holtz, who's now my wife. And she was the first person I met when I walked in the door. God has a plan. You know, we don't always know what it looks like, but he's got a plan for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. I've heard a couple. Actually, I was talking to a guy that I work with in fan control football. He was the equipment manager for the league, and now he's an equipment manager for the one of the teams in the UFL. And I was like, well, listen, if next season you happen to run into Skip Holtz, tell him Pat Burnham said hello. And he goes, it's funny that you mentioned that. He goes, the last time I saw Skip, and his name is Paul Freeze. I don't know if you remember Paul. I don't know which team he works for, but he goes, it's a small world. He goes, we were talking and realized that our grandparents lived on the same street in West Virginia when we were growing up. So anyway, football makes for such a small world. But so the two times I've talked about you this week, people have had backstories.
Now, isn't it incredible the spider webs we weave in this profession, and just like what y'all are doing now, and you've had 16 shows and doing great, but it's all about relationships. And that's what everybody wants to talk about the long hours and coaching and moving around and doing all those things. But I'm telling you, we are all very blessed with wealth of relationships and the number of people that we have an opportunity to interact with and just the spider webs we weave. It's incredible that when you get together, you start talking. It's like, well, I was with him there and he was there. Just, it all comes full circle. It's pretty cool.
Well, I remember in 2006, you were the head coach at East Carolina. This is 2005. You're the head coach at East Carolina. I'm working for a technology company that's trying to sell this reality game. Really, it was supposed to be a simulator, but it was nothing more than a fancy version of John Madden. And I remember walking into your office after I'd met with your staff, and you said, "Well, Patty, you want $85,000 for a game that trains 3 people?" Or he goes, or you said, "I can go buy 4 squat racks that train 85 people." And I was like, I think I know where you're going with this, coach. And of course, fast forward, 6 years later, and you're named the head coach at South Florida. I'm on staff in football operations, and I thought I could say this, coach. I used to write you letters every year at East Carolina after I had that sales call with you in 2005. I don't know if they ever made it to your desk or not, but
they did.
Yeah. And so it was kind of funny. So Coach Holtz gets named the head coach at USF, and of course, I don't think anybody was ever more excited than Rick Smith for him to decide to retain me and Larry Antonucci, because we go to Orlando that year for the coaching clinic, and we know Rick can get to you. We know Rick Smith can get to you. And we followed Rick Smith around that Orlando hotel like baby ducks. And we were like, where's Rick going? We followed, just hoping he'd run into you. And of course, I ended up being on your staff for 3 years, and I always enjoyed the way you treated us as guys that work for you. And listen, had a lot of fun working for you. To talk about Dodger Town trips all the time, which I want to get into. You and I had a conversation last time we went to Dodger Town in 2012, towards the end of camp. I want to get into that with you when we talk about college football, because you and I had a conversation about where college football is going, and we're getting very close to where college football is now from that conversation. But I know we're going to start with where you are now, Coach. And Birmingham Stallions, you've won 3 of the 4 championships in the USFL/UFL. I knew when you got the job, I was like, this is going to be interesting, because I always saw you as a college guy. I really thought that you, being around college football my entire life, I really thought that you got it. You knew winning was important, and you won everywhere you've been. But it was also the way I think you enjoyed the process of dealing with college kids and having an impact on their development, not only on the field but off. So I always wondered, when you went to the USFL, how are you going to like it? And so, we talked a little bit before we got taping, but what has it been like for you to be on, I guess, the professional side of the business, and what have you liked about being a part of the USFL and UFL?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with one word: development. That was the reason I always said I'll never leave the college game. No desire to go professional, because I love the development side of the game. I love watching an 18-year-old come out of high school and grow academically to get a degree, to grow physically, to get bigger, stronger, faster, to grow mentally as a football player, to see his knowledge of the game, to see him grow fundamentally, to see him just mature into a young adult, and to go from that 18 to 22 to 23. I love the development side of the game, and that's what I've always said. In trying to put together a program in college, it's kind of like a conveyor belt. They come in at 18, and then what do you want to make sure they know as sophomores at 19 and juniors at 20 as you're putting it together. But one of the things that I think a lot of that has left here in the last couple of years with the portal. And people don't want to develop. They don't want to earn it. They want to transfer into it. They want to transfer into a starting role. They don't want to earn it. Where you used to come in, you used to wait your turn. You used to develop. I got to get better. I got to get bigger. I got to get faster. And there was a hunger and a development and a discipline that went into it. And I love those. I've always said that my favorite moments in college football were after a win in the locker room, singing the fight song, all the smiles on everybody's face. Everybody had a story. Everybody had to overcome adversity to get to where they were, but you had long-term relationships with your team. Now a guy's there for 4 months, plays your season, gets in the portal, and he's gone again. I mean, it is, and all of a sudden you don't have the development that you once had. You've got, I was talking to a coach the other day about his opening game. And I said, how do you feel about it? And he goes, we have no idea what we're going to expect, what to expect. The team we're about to play has 70 new players. So we don't know what they're going to do. We don't know what they're going to be. We can't, maybe they got new corners. They're going to play all man. Maybe, they feel really good about their 4 new defensive linemen and they're going to play all 2 deep and give those 2 guys a chance to run havoc. I mean, it's just, it's crazy where it's gone, but that's the thing that I have loved about the UFL. This spring league, you've got a captive audience. You've got people that want to be there. They are, almost every member of our roster has been on an NFL team. They either love the game and want to play it. They want to get back to the NFL. It's all business. They take notes. They're professional. I said earlier, I think it is the purest brand of football going right now because those guys want to develop and grow more because that's what they know they have to do to get back to the NFL. And they want an opportunity to showcase their talent. So I have loved it. I coach as the head coach. I'm also the offensive coordinator. I'm also the quarterback coach. We don't have these huge staffs. So I meet every day. I meet with the quarterbacks, the running backs, the tight ends, and the wide receivers. We all meet together. So we're all on the same page because same thing. We're going to bring a bunch of new guys in, and we've got 1 month to teach us offense or defense, and I want to get everybody on the same page. And so maybe it's the interaction of coaching a meeting room again, and interacting on a day-to-day basis and not just doing all the head coaching duties. And when I got fired from Louisiana Tech, you know what? We'd been to 7 bowl games in a row. We won 6 of them in a program that had never gone to back-to-back bowl games in their career. And yet we went 7 in a row, and the 1 year we don't go, I get fired. And you're like,
hey, the change has worked out really well for them, Coach.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was like 1 year we go through this crazy year.
Yeah, COVID.
Mississippi State scores 21 points in the 4th quarter. We get a 25-yard field goal blocked to win the game at the very end.
Watching that game.
SMU, we score with 38 seconds to go. They throw a Hail Mary, bounces off 2 people, goes across the field, hits a guy in the chest. We lose that one. I mean, it was just like crazy scenarios. We lost a bunch of close football games, and I figured, 7 bowl games in a row in a program that had never gone back-to-back. And phenomenal memories of what we did there. But when I got fired there, I was so like, are you kidding me? Like, we could care less what you've done for us for 7 years. We could care less with what you've overcome. We had the lowest budget in the league, but yet we won more games in the league during our time there than anybody else that was there. And it wasn't appreciated. And it was like, you know what? When I got fired, it was like I had some other opportunities to get back into college. And I was just like, you know what? We went to, you were part of it, Patrick. We were at South Florida. We get fired there, same thing, but we go beat Miami to end the season. We go beat Dabo and Clemson in the bowl game. We beat Notre Dame to open the next season.
Think about that now.
No,
Think about what you just said. I mean, when you say that out loud, right? Or whether it's Louisiana Tech and the 6 or 7 bowl games, or these Miami, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
because I mean, and the year before we had just beat Miami in Shreveport in the bowl in Shreveport at Louisiana Tech, and the next year you get fired. Same thing at South Florida. You know, we go and have the success we do. We go to the bowl game. Like I said, we beat Miami to end the year. We beat Clemson in the bowl game. Dabo's first year at Clemson. I remember watching that defensive front and thinking, we're not going to make a first down. You know what I mean? As good as they were. And then you go beat Notre Dame, and same thing. That next year, B.J. Daniels breaks his ankle. Your backup goes in and separates his shoulders. Tommy Eveld goes in and separates his shoulder 10 plays later. And you play with a freshman and you lose a bunch of close football games. And they fired me, and the board of trustees told me, he said, Skip, when I thought we won those 3 games, I thought we were ready to compete for a national championship. And I'm saying to myself, we've been playing Division I football 5 years.
right.
I mean, they were great wins. Don't get me wrong. They were great wins, but we weren't there yet. We were moving in the right direction, but we weren't there yet. So anyway, I got flustered. I felt unappreciated, and I really didn't want to go back to college. And then that's when that opportunity opened in the spring leagues, and I've loved it. Would I go back? I've had opportunities. I've probably said no to 20 opportunities to get back into college.
Yep.
I don't know. Never say never. You know what I mean? It's still my passion. It's still my love. It's still the game that I got involved with. And we'll just have to see what's going to happen as we move forward. But great experiences in the college game, and have had some great experiences and some great success here in the UFL. Like you said, winning 3 championships. And then last year was kind of like that year we just talked about. We played 5 quarterbacks due to injury in 11 games. And it's hard to play that many quarterbacks and have any type of success, but still to have the second best record in the league, to get into the playoffs 4 straight years. Then we lost in the playoffs, but it's been an incredible run and something that I've really enjoyed.
You mentioned this.
Go ahead, Shane.
Well, you mentioned this, and I find it interesting, right? I started as a 1AA coach, FCS, where you have a very small staff. You're not well resourced at that level necessarily, but there's just a lot on everybody's plate. Then you go all the way through major college ball, you end up at Rutgers or Florida State, and they have these ginormous staffs where, in my opinion, Skip, they can get too big, right? I'd sit there in these staff rooms and there'd be 55, 60 people. And I remember telling Pat that sometimes I thought the messages got muted or, watered down, crossed over. I have a buddy coaching for the Panthers, Colin Bowers, their defensive coordinator, who you might know, but he loves the fact that it is a little more bare boned, that there's more interaction, there's less layers between the coach and the player. He loves that part, that it's really just the football. What really matters is what matters.
That's what I have loved about it. It's ball. It's relationships. It's ball. I know we talked about we get started in February, but we'll start our Zoom calls really in about October, November. We'll start Zooming, teaching the offense, showing highlight clips, showing cut-ups to start teaching. But that's the thing that, again, I've loved about it, is that direct relationship with the players. And as a head coach today, I don't want to say you're insulated, but you're so far removed from the individual meeting rooms. You have your team meetings, you have individual meetings with some players, but really you get to know as the head coach, you spend a lot of time with the upperclassmen or the leaders of your football team. But you don't have an opportunity to spend a lot of individual time with some of the new guys or some of the younger players. So I have really, really loved getting back and being a position coach. And it's one of my passions. And one of the things I love, as we talked about before, because you get to watch the development of a quarterback, of a receiver, of an offense that's starting to get put together. But it's something that I have really enjoyed.
Well, listen, you've been very successful at it. I've watched. I do have a Birmingham Stallions T-shirt up in my closet. I almost wore today. Now, obviously, our Yeah, well, I was trying to go college. You know how it is. I want to look professional. I'm like, I want to look professional. But yeah, but anyway, it's been awesome to watch. I actually watched y'all's last game this year. Y'all made the playoffs, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Again, yeah. So it's now. I know there's been a lot of talk about whether Birmingham is going to return to the UFL or not, as far as being a city. Have they gotten that solved yet?
Yeah, it really what happened was somebody just wrote that there was some talk about maybe two teams moving. There's been some new cities that have interest in Raleigh, Lexington, Columbus, Ohio, a number of different cities so there's been a lot of talk about Memphis and Houston, who have not done very well in their present markets. And then I know that Michigan has a problem right now. They're playing in Ford Field, and what it costs to turn the lights on every week. They're looking at maybe moving Michigan out of Ford Field to eliminate some of the expense. And somehow Birmingham got thrown in it. I mean, we've won 3 championships. We're the only team that's been in the playoffs all 4 years. We're number 1 in television audience. We're number 3 in attendance. And you're going to move us? Like, come on. I mean, but the league, when it came out, they mentioned those 3 and then Birmingham, and nobody ever dispelled it. Well, now they've come out and said, you know what, Birmingham's going back to Birmingham.
Awesome.
They're
Good.
not going to move Birmingham. It's been too much success in that city right now to be able to move it. And we've got a loyal following. And, I think when we talk about attendance, like we had one game that's 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning on Mother's Day in the South. Like, come on. I mean, it's like Mother's Day, everybody's going to church, everybody's going to Mother's Day brunch, and go, well, we wish we drew better. Well, let's start with getting out of Sunday at 11 o'clock on Mother's Day. Let's start with that. But there's a lot of good things going on, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been great people in Birmingham. I don't know how much time you've spent there, but a great city.
Yeah, that's where I started school. I played for Terry at Sanford, and I've been back several times since. But yeah, I like Birmingham a lot. It's a beautiful town, and I think it's probably underrated. Now, I think I couldn't understand why they wanted to move it, because I can't think of many more places that there would be a need for a public to watch spring football than in the state of Alabama. I mean, that's a football crazy state. So I didn't understand it when all the conversation started. But I knew you just had a camp there shortly after that rumor got started to try to say, hey, we're here to stay. And then
we're investing in the community. We're doing this youth camp. I mean, all that. It was something that honestly, I think it was so, I want to say this the wrong way, so outlandish that it was a story. They talked about there's 4 teams that could move. Well, nobody talked about the other 3. All they talked about was Birmingham. I mean, well, they were part of what, but it's like, what? You win 3 championships and now you're going to move the team out of that city? Like, this is absurd. And that's why I said it was so dang near outlandish with the support that we've received, the viewership, the interest. I think it was almost like, come on, can we just say that, like, this is bullshit and move on? I mean, nope. Yep. Am I allowed to say bullshit? Sorry.
You are. Hey, this is YouTube, and it's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing we've heard. I can assure you of that. I will say this, Coach. There is good news in that. I've worked for 2 leagues that went belly up in the spring. At least they're still talking about you.
No, that is. We are going into year 5,
right?
Year 5. I mean, and I'll never forget in year 1, I didn't realize the magnitude of what we had accomplished. But in year 1, we walked out for like the 7th game or the 6th game, and the official came up and said, congratulations. And I said, we're undefeated right now. It's been a pretty good run. And he goes, no, I'm talking about making it to the 6th game. Yeah. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you're the first spring league since the 80s to go past 6 games or something like that. And I was like,
that's true.
Wow, I didn't even realize all these leagues that had been played, just the longevity. And so to go back for year 2 and then year 3 and now year 4. Now, I think it's here to stay. I think there's a need for it. I actually think there's enough talent to support some more teams. But there is a large group of guys that, maybe they priced themselves out of the NFL with the new collective bargaining agreement after they've been there for 3 or 4 years and they have to be an unrestricted free agent. But they're still quality players. They still can play the game and can make a living at it. And so I think it's needed. I think it's here to stay. And I think it's, as I said earlier, I think it's one of the more enjoyable leagues that I've been part of.
The one thing I enjoyed about it, Coach, in the AAF, the kids who talk about it being the purest form of the game, because they're making money, but it's not what they're making in the NFL. It's basically paycheck to paycheck type salary, maybe a little bit more for some of your upper tier guys. But they play so hard at that level. They're playing like there's somebody right behind them getting ready to take their spot, which there is. But it's what I really liked about the AAF in the one season there was just how hard the guys played, and it wasn't about the money. It was about not wanting to go have to do something else more than it was anything else. So I think it's fun to watch those games.
And everybody makes the same money, and they're making about $5,500 a week, which is good money. The only problem is it's a 10-week season. and then they're done. So it's not like they're making that money year round, but they're making $5,500 a week, and everybody's making the same amount of money. And all they want film, or they want to keep playing the game. And that's the pure joy of it for me, is their why is also strong, and why they play the game. And they know what their why is, because they've had to evaluate it to say, what do I want to go back and do this again? Do I want to keep competing to chase this dream?
Now, was there any one thing when you started thinking about going to work for the USFL, was there one thing you were leery about as far as what you thought about the pro football model?
Yeah, I didn't know how I do. And I don't mean this in a negative light, but you look at all these college coaches that have gone to make their run in professional sports. A Spurrier, a Saban, a Meyer. You're talking about three of them. Lou Holtz. You're talking about four of the most successful coaches in college football history. All made a run in the NFL, and all came back and were not very successful in the NFL. And so when I first got into it, it was like, okay, I'm going to run the offense, and I'm going to run the same offense I ran in college. Will it work? You know what I mean? It's still 11 on 11. But you know what? I just didn't know. I went out there to that very first game. We played the New Jersey Generals with Coach Riley. And honestly, I was just scared to death we were going to get absolutely embarrassed and annihilated on national television in the first game, with Fox. And I was scared to death. And we ended up winning that game in a close football game. And, we never, we're like 40-7 or something like that in 4 years. I never tried to go 40-7. I just tried to win the next game. And probably part of my fear of not knowing if this was going to work or not was one of the things that drove me so hard, pushed me to be able to make sure we were focused and dialed in and crossing T's and dotting I's. And over 4 years, you look back, and it's been a pretty successful run.
Yeah, how do you like being mic'd up?
Have you had to deviate at all? You mentioned your college offense, so to speak.
No, not really deviate. But, when I look at this offense that we've run, and I've run it my whole career, it started as a two-back offense way back when, before I ever even went to Florida State, and then started out as two backs, a fullback, a tailback, two receivers, kind of grew to three wides, kind of grew to four wides, kind of grew to empty. And so really you have the ability to be a three tight, pack them in tight, motions, things like that, and run the ball. And you have an opportunity to spread them out and be able to do a lot of things, whether you're in 4 or 5 wides. So I think there's a lot of flexibility to this offense. And we've needed all of that, because there's games where we're probably much more traditional and under a center and running the ball a little bit more with tight ends and motions. And then there's some where we look like the run and gun, 5 wides, empty, opening it up, throwing it all over the yard. So I think we've needed all of the flexibility in the offense. Patrick, you asked a question about being mic'd up.
Yeah, they're the whole game.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not fired up about it. You know what I mean? You realize, as you know, once you start coaching, you don't know the it's on. You know what I mean? You don't know it's on, but then people are like, "Man, I love when you said to Jamar, you know, do you want me to ask our opponents if we can have a do-over?" You know what I mean? Like, there's things you forget. You know what I mean? So now you're just coaching ball, and you're in it, and you get mad, you call a play, it's wide open, he doesn't take it, and it was like, hey, dumbass, you want to see if they'll give us a do-over so we can throw it? The guy's wide open, and then you call it, and he throws the touchdown pass, and he looks at you, and it's like, you know what? Okay, I got it. I got it. But I don't love being mic'd up. Now, I'm not a big cusser, yeller, screamer, rant and rave, and all that. On game day, I'm probably much more positive and optimistic and upbeat. So it doesn't bother me, but it is unique. And you've got, there's times that maybe my tongue has slipped. There's maybe some not so prouder language coming out of my mouth. And right after I say it, I'll say in my microphone, it's like, hey guys, clean that up, make me look good, would you? I mean,
you handled yourself well at South Florida. I thought I was on the headphones all 3 years, and you were always more under control than most people. I remember a couple times V used to get upset on kickoff coverage, and V would have some choice things to say, and you would pop up and say, V, don't say it again. Don't say it again. And then I remember your first game at South Florida, we had a little issue late in the game. We were beating Charleston Southern by a lot. And something had happened, and I'm not going to get into what happened, but I remember you jumping on the headphones, or you turned your mic on, and you were talking to me, Mark Snyder, and Jeremy Lees, and he said, I don't know whose fault this is, but I'm firing one of you as soon as we get to the locker room. And it was something, and that's about as fired up as I'd ever heard him get. But I was like, oh, holy shit, we've been here one game. I'm supposed to get fired. I'm not even supposed to be on. I'm not even supposed to be on the headsets. And I ended up on the headset because V needed somebody to do down and distance chart that game because the guy who was up there could not do it or had not done it before. So I ended up on there by mistake. And I was like, holy, I'm not even supposed to be on these headphones. This is a blessing that I was on the headphones to catch this.
Great memories. And let me just say this. You talk about South Florida. How exciting is it that they are building the stadium?
It's awesome. I still love South Florida. Love my 7 years there. You were a big proponent of that when you took over the program.
I was pushing to get it, and all they talked about was, look, we get to play in Raymond James Stadium. I said, it's red. We're green. We're green and gold. The whole stadium's red for the Buccaneers. And all the money that they had put into that university to have people fly into Tampa, stay downtown, go to Raymond James, go to a game, get on a plane and fly out and never walk onto the campus of South Florida, I thought was a mistake. It's a beautiful campus. Put the facility on the campus, make people come up and see what's there, because I felt like it was one of the best kept secrets, because it's a great place with great people. And I'm just really, really excited to see the progress that they're making, building the indoor facility, which finally got done, and now putting the stadium right there on campus where that intramural softball field was and the old practice fields. How awesome is that? I think it's going to be fantastic. And you know what? Kudos to powers to be at South Florida for making those decisions. I'm proud of them and follow them and excited for them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what that stadium looks like. And I remember now I don't know all the details, but I do know when you took over the program, you were a big proponent of that. Your predecessor had kind of poo-pooed it. We're fine at Raymond James. I think he was the only person that had that vision that we need to play there. Listen, I think they end up stinking money into the Sun Dome, the baseball facility, and the soccer facility instead of putting it where it needed to be, which was that And those facilities are very nice now. Don't get me wrong, but
no doubt.
Football was always going to need to be the front porch for Florida's USF, and so I am glad they're getting it done. And I can't wait to see what it looks like. But yeah, I'm with you. I thought that should have been done a long time ago, and I guess it's good that it's getting done now. But yeah, I remember the first time. I'm sorry to tell these stories. I remember when you walked outside and you saw that they had put a turf field down outside in Florida, and you were like, they should not. Why do you need a turf field outside in Florida? A, it's hot, and B, if you can't go grass in Florida, you can't go grass in Florida. And we go out for that first off-season conditioning outside, and we're using the big 45-pound plates on the turf. And you remember it put those big old dents in the turf, and he had to come tear it up and redo it.
Right, they had to come repair the turf with all that. Yeah. I mean, that like I said, that whole situation, grass in Florida, I mean, you get natural sunshine, rain every day, throw a little fertilizer out, and then just sit back and listen to the grass grow. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed my time there. Great place, but really excited. It's taken 20 years, but it's great to see what they've done with their facilities at this point, and I think they have a chance now to be successful with what they're doing. So follow them and pull for them.
Yep, me too. Looking forward to seeing how they do Thursday night against Boise State.
Yep,
they got a tough September. All right, so Coach, go ahead, Shane.
No, go ahead. I'll let you take it.
Okay, no. I was going to say, you mentioned earlier that you've been approached by colleges about getting back into being a college head coach. Obviously, there's been a shift in the dynamics of college football since you got out. In fact, going back to your Louisiana Tech thing, which is, I mean, I want to go more into that because I do think it's crazy that they made the decision they made, given what you had done there. But you go back to 2020, one of your last two seasons there, COVID hits. Then 2021, the portal really starts taking shape in college football, and everyone's using it, just not Florida State and a couple other schools that got the credit for using it. But what would be your reluctance to go back into college football? Is there anything that's changed so much you're like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore? Or you still think that it could be the kind of job where you still get the benefits out of it that you wanted? I'm not talking about financial or any of that.
I think I think every year it's getting better and better. I think when this thing started 4 years ago, it was Wild West. There's two portals. How do you manage a roster? How do you know who's staying, who's going, who to sign, who to recruit? The recruiting calendar for high school players, even the portal. Like you could end spring, and all four of your quarterbacks could get in the portal. And you're like, whoa, I mean, you're starting all over again. I mean, it was, when it first started, I think it was Wild West. I think a lot of rules have come into place. They've narrowed it down now where there's one portal. They're going to get rid of the second one. I think the NIL has certainly got back into check a little bit with kind of I'm going to call it salary cap. The 20.5, you know what I mean, with the schools that are now paying rather than all that money being raised by independent boosters to try and support the program through NIL. I think NIL now is going to have an opportunity to be what it was designed to be, which is for the guy that builds his name, image, and likeness in college. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He comes back another year. He can go make a commercial for Cadillac. He can make a couple dollars in marketing his name, image, and likeness, which is what it was built for. And to be honest, I mean, the college coaches screwed it up. I'm not trying to, because they weren't supposed to be involved, but then all of a sudden they were in a home going, look, I will get you $100,000 in NIL. Well, that's not what NIL was built for. NIL was built for once that young man builds his name, image, and likeness, he can go make money, side money. You go back to Steve Alford. I remember when I was in college, he had to sit games because he was on a calendar that was a fundraiser that they sold the calendars for a charity, and he had to sit games because his image made money. You know, just absurd, ludicrous stuff. So I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to be better. I think the athletes deserve to get paid with the amount of money that's in college football right now. I think they deserve to get paid. I think every year they wrap their arms around the rules and get a little bit closer to being able to manage it. I think it's getting better and better every year. Would I go back 3 years ago? No. Would I go back now? Yeah, it's something that I would consider. It's something that I would consider, and I don't think I've been away from the game with Trey at LSU. I go down there and visit them and, meet with those coaches. I believe there's about 9 coaches on that staff now that coach with me at Louisiana Tech on that LSU staff. So I'm in touch with them, the different relationships that we have through the years and the coaches in different places and going to different camps and asking them, how are you handling NIL? How are you handling the payment? How are you handling the portal? How are you handling these contracts? Are you paying your money up front? Everybody's tried to manage it. But I think some people were doing it the right way. And what you don't want to be is ready, fire, aim, where every year you're trying to change to keep up with the Joneses. And so I think you have to have a plan. But I feel like I've been, even though I haven't been in the game, that's where all my contacts are. That's where my relationships are. And that's where during fall you go around, you're visiting with different teams, you're visiting with different people, you're talking to different people on the phone. So yeah, I never say never, Patrick. Never say never.
All right. Well, would Jen say no because you've got Trey at LSU and you got your daughter Haley, director of football ops at Seattle Seahawks? Is Jen going to say, "Hey, Skip, we've got plenty of college football as it is in the fall"?
I think she's ready to unplug. I think she's ready to say, you know what? I supported you for all these years. I traveled all over the country. I picked up families. We moved. We sold houses. We built new houses. Like, at what point do we get to say, all right, now it's time to just sit back and relax? So yeah. I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen. You never know. It'd have to be the right opportunity, but it's something, if it's the right opportunity and something I could get excited about, I could see myself getting back into it.
Do you like Birmingham?
I do like Birmingham. I really like Birmingham.
I think there may be a college job over there.
I've enjoyed the city. I love the restaurants. I love the civil rights. You know what I mean? Just, I think it's a great, great city. But it's a good place for sure. It's a good place. I've enjoyed Birmingham.
I was just joking. I've got UAB as one of the coaching hot seat picks for this year. So I was just kidding. I like Trent Dilfer. I hope he does well.
A couple things you said there. Go ahead. A couple things you said there got me thinking, Skip. I agree. NIL's changed enough where I think, we've got our hands around it as a profession and as universities where I think there will be much more reasonable operating space there. I agree with that. Secondly, LSU, you talked about that Joe Sloan and your family connection there. I think it's a special job in college football. You've been intimate with that job being at Louisiana Tech and just being in college football. I think it's one of the most unique jobs in all of college football. Can you speak your opinion of that place being so close, just the way that they control the borders of that state in recruiting, the kids that get developed in that state just from a talent pool? Can you talk a little bit about LSU and Joe and Trey and what they have in there at LSU?
Yeah, and you've got Joe Sloan's the offensive coordinator. Blake Baker was my safety coach when Manny Diaz left, and I hired Blake Baker to be my defense coordinator. And he was with us for a couple of years, then went to Miami, then obviously Missouri, and now back to Baton Rouge. Couple things. LSU is a special place. It's the only school in the state. Outside of your Florida, Texas, and California, who on a sheer landmass standpoint are the most productive states to produce college football players, LSU is up there in the top 5 as a small state, but it is a homegrown state. And I'm people that want to recruit Louisiana, they go hire high school coaches from Louisiana, because if you're not from Louisiana, you're not in. I mean, I'll never forget. I was way down. We were recruiting Rameek Robertson, way south of New Orleans, way down in Homa, way down there in the bayou.
Mm-hmm.
And we're down there, and we stop at a gas station. We're getting gas, and I've got a Louisiana Tech shirt on, and there's a gentleman sitting out front. And he said, "Louisiana Tech, where's that?" And I said, "Well, we're right up on I-20 in between Shreveport and Ruston." He looks at me and said, Is that north of Baton Rouge?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "So you're an effing Yankee, huh?" So, I mean, just how they view things there. And you look at, when I first got there, I've had a friend of mine who was covering high school sports, and he was the one that told me, he said, if you want to recruit, especially New Orleans, you've got to have a high school coach. And I interviewed and hired Jabbar Jalouk, who was a high school coach. Was a high school coach at Edna-Carr High School. Had won a couple state championships. We hired him at Louisiana Tech. I mean, he was at LSU, and now he's coach at Florida. But if you want to hire, Frank Wilson was a high school coach in New Orleans, and then got hired at LSU. It is, if you walk in from out of state and you go, "Coach, I'm here to ask you about some of your top prospects." He goes, "Coach, we don't have anybody who can play for you. You're in the Big Ten. You know what? I don't think we have anybody that can play for you." And I mean, LSU walks in next, and it's like, "Coach, here are the 6 guys that I think could start in the SEC." I mean, they are, and it is a great state. It is a state that loves football. It's a unique place. But one of the things we did when we got to Louisiana Tech was said, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to recruit the state." And that's why we went to go hire Jabbar. And I put every coach on my staff had an in-state area that we could go. In 1 week, we could get into every high school in the state of Louisiana. And that was a huge part of our success. And when you look at the players from Louisiana that went on to be draft picks, I mean, when you look at Carlos Henderson was a 2nd-round draft pick with Denver. You look at Jalen Ferguson was a 3rd-round draft pick at Baltimore. You go through all these players that we had that were draft picks that came out of rural Louisiana, but then you put them on 3 meals a day and you watch their bodies grow and you watch them develop. And it's a special place. And LSU, it's the only school in the state. And I say only school, it's the only Power 5 school in the state. You've got Lafayette, you've got Monroe, you've got Louisiana Tech, you got Tulane, but LSU is the only Power 5 in the state, and they love their Tigers. And I'm telling you, here, this opening game of the year, we're up here at Lake Kiwi, about 20 minutes north of Clemson. And let me tell you, this opening game now, it's going to be a dogfight. I'm really looking forward to seeing those 2 teams compete in the opening day. And there'll be 4 really good games that opening weekend, but I'm really looking forward to watching this one because they're two very similar programs that have done a great job building it.
You doing it from the sidelines or the stands?
I think I'm going to sit in the box.
Okay.
I'm going to go sit in the box, and you know what? I will I'm best to get out of the view of everybody else and just sit in the background and watch it. But looking forward to getting up there and being able to watch that game.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Let me ask you this. Death Valley, I think they're both really tough to go play in. I've been to both. I've been at night to both. I think there's a lot of special places in college football. That's 2 of them, right? That's 2 of the most special if you're a home team, and tough if you're a road team. Other places that stick out to you, Skip, that you've coached over the years, are there other places you've been a lot of places, but anything that sticks out, 2 or 3 that just jump out to you as the head coach?
Well, LSU is one at night. And my experience is, I mean, from you got the 8-year-old girl that's sitting there, giving the buses that, and you drive by and you're like, wow. I mean, they start them early down there. But I've been blessed, and there's so many great venues. I mean, obviously, you go anywhere in the SEC, it's pretty damn good. I mean,
Sure.
From you go to Texas and Oklahoma, and you go to A&M, go to Arkansas, the venue they've got there. Obviously, we talked about LSU, go to Alabama, go to Auburn, go to Tennessee, go to Georgia, go to Florida. I mean, go to South Carolina. I mean, every one of those are like incredible, incredible venues. But you know what? Penn State's pretty special. Ohio State's pretty special. Michigan, I love playing out in the Coliseum against Southern Cal when I was there in South Bend. I've been really blessed to go around being at Northwestern a couple years ago. Had the opportunity to go to Wisconsin for the first time and go see that venue, to go play at Nebraska, to play there. There's so many great venues. And you can't, that one's better than that one. They're all pretty
okay. Well,
good.
let me, I'm going to come back at you. Is there a road win, an environment that you have gone in and won a game that sticks out? Like, I think this sounds crazy, Skip. One of my favorite wins as a coach, we went to Georgia Southern at Elon, FCS coaching. It was back when you could not win in Statesboro. It's really hard to go to Statesboro and win in Georgia. So that always sticks out, even though it's, FCS football. For whatever reason, I felt really proud. And in that environment, it sticks out. I guess that's what I'm asking.
For me, being at South Florida and beating Notre Dame,
there it is.
That one would be hard to go away from. I mean, do
you remind Brian Kelly of that when you see him?
That one was pretty special. To be at the youngest Division I football program, playing one of the most storied, historied ones, and to be able to go in there and win, that was, the rain delays, the 8-hour game. I mean, all that was pretty incredible. But going down when we were at South Carolina, beating Georgia down there between the hedges, wow. You know what I mean? What a great win.
Sure.
Just so many, I go back to so many. And I don't even know some of them, like when I was at Connecticut, you bring up FCS. Mm-hmm. We played at Delaware when Tubby Raymond was there.
That's right.
And I mean, one of the greatest games. I mean, we played Maine when I was at Connecticut, and Jack Cosgrove was the head coach. Probably one of the most exciting games I've ever been part of, playing Bill Bowes in New Hampshire when I was at Connecticut. I mean, those are some of the best coaches, the best games, great atmospheres, small venue. You know what I mean? Just really, really, really cool. And yeah, going to Alabama and winning was really neat, and going to Georgia and getting a win was cool. But winning at Tennessee when we were at Notre Dame, I mean, I've been blessed to be around a bunch of great ones. But like you said, it doesn't have to be 100,000 people to make it an incredible venue. When you get into some of those atmospheres, like you talked about with Georgia Southern, and I talked about with Delaware. We lost at Georgia Southern. We went down there and played and lost. It was a defensive battle, like 49-47. I mean, it was a heck of a game down there. But what a great atmosphere. We didn't end up winning, but what a great atmosphere. Great memories.
Yeah. Coach, I got a question for you, and I got a couple more. I don't know how much time you got, but I kind of want to talk about today's college football, and I kind of want to take you back in time. I got a couple of questions about working for Coach Bowden and your father I want to ask, and the influence both those guys have had on your coaching career. But I can't remember what it was, 2011 and 2012. We're closing up camp at Dodgertown, and we always had a coach's social the last night of camp before we went back to Tampa. And so one night, last night, you and I are sitting up, everybody's going their separate ways. And so we're talking about the state of college football and where we're here it's going, because they're talking about expansion at this time, and we're going to go to super conferences. And at the end of the day, you and I came up, and it's probably more you than it was me, but I'm going to take partial credit. we started talking about what the perfect model for college football looked like. And this is 2012. You and I left that night thinking that, hey, the best thing for college football would be to have 4 18-team conferences with 9 on each side of each conference, where you play 8 on that side, 1 rotating from the other. Then the other 3, you play the other 3 Power 4 conferences every year, rotate through them. So we kind of were kind of ahead of the time, Coach. We were forward thinking in a time when most people were not. All right, so where do you see college football going at the end of the day? It's a long way to ask that question.
Okay, we've kind of got to the 4 16-team models. You know what I mean? We've kind of gotten to that point.
Yeah.
Which I think it could be really good. I don't think it's going to stay here. I think it's going to end up – I think we're going to have an elite league of 32 teams. Whether that is 2 conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC, that are kind of running away with this thing right now, or is the Big 12 and the ACC, are some of those teams going to jump in to join, and some of those teams fall out of the top 64, which is the Power 5 right now. Yep. I think it'll go to a 32 elite. I think those 32 elite need to play each other. Only. I don't think they should drop down. I think they should only play each other. I think it needs to be the NFL model. I think your playoff teams should come from the elite level. And I think you're going to have an elite of 32. If I were king for the day, I would make an elite 32, Power 5 32, a 64 group, and a 120 FCS. And then I would relegate. Okay. I would take 3 or 4 teams and move them down every year, and 3 or 4 teams and move them up. And I'd follow the European Soccer League. I don't think that the powers to be will ever make that decision, because the conference commissioners are so tied into protecting the schools in their league. But there are some teams right now in the Big Ten and the SEC, and those are the 2 that everybody's talking about. I think there are some teams that don't deserve to be in it, and I think they're there from a birthright standpoint. And I think there's teams in the ACC and the Big 12 that do deserve to be in it. But I think if you relegate teams, then you could go from an FCS team to a group of 5, to a Power 5, to an elite. And I think everybody has that window. It may take them 10 years, and they're going to have to make a financial commitment to it, but everybody has the opportunity to do it. And then I think the monies need to get shared amongst everybody rather than just the elites.
Do you think that they need to go the way of a salary cap, so we know that who can run who the best programs are, meaning who manages the cap and how they manage their roster? Do you think we need to go there as opposed to what's still kind of a free-for-all?
I think everybody in college football would love to have a salary cap. I just don't know how you put this genie back in the bottle that we let out with NIL, and with what they're doing right now. They really can't make a salary cap. And I say that because whole nother argument, but the NCAA has lost all its teeth. Right. The NCAA has lost all its teeth when they, going all the way back to the Ed O'Bannon case. And I'll make this short, but when Ed O'Bannon sued for name, image, and likeness, the NCAA changed their antitrust laws to win that lawsuit. They won the battle. They lost the war. But they now no longer have that to hide behind. And so everything now, what's being passed now are not rules through the NCAA. The NIL was not a rule. The transfer portal was not a rule. These are all laws. These are lawsuits. So what's happening is college football, the laws that are being put in place are being done through the court system, through lawsuits, not rules that the NCAA is making. So you can't just change a law. You can't. And so right now, I think that's one of the biggest problems where they're having problems is when the NCAA changed their antitrust laws. they're having a hard time being able to stand on anything to say, this is all that we're going to give you the ability to earn. It would be like telling Apple, you can only spend X amount on your employees. And Apple going, forget that. We'll pay them whatever we want because that's what they're worth to us. But so I agree with you. I think a salary cap would be awesome. I just don't know how they get to it right now.
No. Would you ever have interest in being the commissioner of college football? If they're once they get to a place where that's what you said it. The NCAA doesn't have any teeth. At some point, it's about the Big Ten, the SEC, Fox, and ESPN all getting aligned.
Yes, I agree. College football needs a commissioner. They constantly say that the conference commissioners are looking out for the good of college football. They're looking out for their shareholders, which are the teams in their league, and they're trying to get bigger, and they're trying to eat everybody up. It's not good for college football for everybody to be in one conference. You know what I mean? I think greed has really hurt the game. I think when they said, look, we're going to a playoff and we don't want to share this money with 120 teams and let's cut out and let's make the power in the group. I think what they did financially to the group is a shame. I think they've made it harder and harder for the groups to be able to operate. And yet the power, they have more money than they know what to do with right now with what's coming in from these playoff games. And they're finding ways to spend it. And the players said, well, if there's that much money, we want a piece of it. And they deserve it. I think they deserve it. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I definitely think that college football would benefit from a college commissioner. Would I be interested? Yeah. I've been involved in the college game my whole life. For 40 years, I've been in coaching, and I grew up around it. I played it. I've coached it for 40 years. It's been my whole life. I'm not saying that I'm probably the most qualified for it. There's some people out there like a Nick Saban that I think would be phenomenal at it, who is looking for the good of the game. But I certainly think it's going to take somebody that doesn't have ties to a certain school or conference, and he's going to look out for the good of the game. What's in the best interest of the game. But I think it would be needed. Yeah,
we were talking. I was listening to a coach talk. I can't remember the coach who it was, but I was listening to one of the Power Four coaches talk during media day. Oh, it was Dave Doran. We need to do what's right for college football. We need to quit doing what's right for the conferences and television. And to me, it's probably a lazy analogy, but it kind of reminds me of back in the 50s and 60s when the AFL and the NFL were fighting. And what they found out in the long run is that their interests were all best served if they merged, right? And it's turned out to be the best professional league of them all. So I keep on hoping that at some point common sense will take over and the good of the sport will take over, and they'll merge everything together where Fox and ESPN can get along, and Big Ten and SEC can work out whatever differences they have. And hey, we're going to do this for the good of the game type of thing. All right.
That's where Cody Campbell, the Texas Tech booster, I think that's his, not getting in the weeds here, but his goal is, like you said, pool the TV rights with the power to whatever that ends up being. Let's pull some TV rights. Let's do some things that support not just college football, even some of the other sports on campus that have done right. Everybody could benefit. And then it makes me laugh when we're certainly moving in the right direction. Think about like Jim Tressel, what he got fired for going back, tattoos. A guy exchanged tickets for tattoos, and this guy gets fired. Fast forward to what happened with Michigan, and they get a slap on the wrist, really. But it's fascinating where we've come in the last 10, 15 years in college football. But it's all going in the right direction.
I agree with you 100%. I think the changes, as painful as they are, because it's different, I think at the end of the day, I still think we're probably a couple of years away from really getting our arms around a salary cap type of atmosphere where there's some parity in college football. But right now, when you look at the way an SEC team is trying to operate financially with what they have coming in compared to a group of 5 team, and then they're getting on the field and playing each other. And it's like, you know what? I don't mean this negative, but it's like, quit being a bully. You know what I mean? Let's go play each other. If you're not going to give those guys any money, get them off the schedule, go play each other. I mean, otherwise, there's a lot of things I think can make it better, but I think it certainly has evolved an awful lot. And, you go back to what SMU got the death penalty for right now. They'd be winning national championships instead, and everybody be praising them. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, they sue the NCAA. That put their program back decades. All right, Coach, I want to take you back in time a little bit if you got a couple of more minutes for us. Obviously, you've worked with two of the greatest, and Earl Bruce was a great coach, too. You coached for him at Colorado State after he left Ohio State. But obviously, you coached for your father, Lou, coached for Coach Bowden. You're one of those guys that is, in my opinion, you take the best of what you've seen from everybody and you implement it into your programs. And then I think there are things that you didn't take from those two guys and didn't interject into your programs. But what are a couple of the things that you learned from your father and Coach Bowden that have stuck with you and how you handle your players and run your program, both on the field and off?
Well, let's start by how blessed I've been to have some of the mentors that I've had, to have the opportunity to be able to view Coach Bowden and the way he does things, and Coach Holtz and Coach Bruce. They're all different, but they're all the same in many respects. I mean, I think when you look at, especially when you're talking about a Lou Holtz and an Earl Bruce, and Bobby Bowden, you talk about they're great people. The way you look at the stability that Coach Bowden had on his staff for all those years, it's because you're working with a good man who lets you coach, who doesn't get in the way. I think the way that he managed his staff, I thought was impressive. I mean, we had a devotion every morning in staff meetings and went around the room, and it was just a great culture. And the same thing being with the Lou Holtz. I mean, it was a good man, treat people the right way, handle things the right way. They both had a drive, a standard for excellence to compete in the way things were going to be done. But here's probably one of the things I learned. My father would run it every down. He once said to me, he said, "You know what, Skip, that's the difference between you and me. I don't think you ever have to throw a pass to win a game." And I said, "Well, you're right, Dad. That would be a difference between you and me, because I love the passing game." And Coach Bowden was the riverboat gambler, wide open. And my father was the Woody Hayes, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, control the ball, control the game, field position, win 17-14. But here's the thing. They were both successful, but they both had a plan. You don't just go in and call plays. You got to have a plan. And I thought both of them had a plan and how to win, taking a little bit of Coach Bowden's and a little bit of Coach Holtz's and kind of formulating myself in some of the things that I really liked. I never did something because, well, this is what Lou Holtz did, or did it because this is what Coach Bowden did. But you end up taking things away that were really good that you incorporate into what you do. I've been very fortunate from a bowl game standpoint. I don't know what my overall record is, but we're pretty good in bowl games. But I learned from two of the best, and Bobby Bowden and Lou Holtz, who were really good in bowl games. I don't know. I think I don't even know. I'm trying to even guess. I'm 6, 7, 8. Or I don't know. I'm probably about like 12-8 or something like that in 20 bowl games. But I've had the opportunity to learn from two really good guys, and I was blessed, and I was blessed to have the opportunity to have great mentors that I had a phenomenal amount of respect over. That, you know what, I've always said that if I could carry one bit of their charisma, their class, and their success with me, then I will have a blessed career. And I've been very, very fortunate.
Yeah, 8-4 in bowl games. Do you remember? This is probably not going to be funny to anybody but me. But all right. So we're at the Monarchy Car Care Bowls, Coach's first year at USF.
Yep.
And we have come back from practice, but we've got to go back to the stadium for team pictures. We're going through a walkthrough. And Jeremy Lee sends me a text and says, can you please text the team and let them know that they need to wear this set of sweats to the stadium? So we get to the stadium, and I can tell right away, get off the bus, that you're mad. And so I'm trying to find out what he's mad about. And so he comes up to me and goes, who told you to have them wear these sweats? And I was like, well, Jeremy Lee's telling me to wear these sweats, Coach. I can't believe you sent out that text. I said, this is not what they're supposed to be wearing. We're going to take our team pictures in sweats. And I still have, because of that conversation, Coach, I don't have all my football paraphernalia, but I still have that picture up of that plaque for that particular reason. Because every time I think of it, I think that's the most angry Skip Holtz ever got with me, was at that bowl game. And and I think your exact comment was, don't ever send out a text without running it through me again, which I knew you did not know. You did not mean, because you'd already told me earlier in the year. I remember I handled all the things, for people that don't know, for Coach Holtz. I handled all the things off the field that had to do with the football office at South Florida. And of course, so I had come into your office one day, and I said, Coach, I want to make you aware of a situation. And you told me, as I get ready to leave your office, you said, Pat, by the way, do you think that's a situation I really need to know about? And I said, well, probably not, but I haven't worked for you before, so I'm just covering my own bases. And so every time after that, before I'd come into your office, I'd sit in my office for like 5 minutes and go, is this something that Skip needs to know about, or I just need to keep this to myself? So then what I started doing, I'd go to the assistant coaches and say, hey, this is one of your guys. Before I go to Skip, please let me know whether you think this is Skip worthy or not. But you did let all of us do our job. I appreciated that. And of course,
you were phenomenal at the job you did. You did a great job with it. And it's easy. It's one of those things. If you don't trust your staff to handle their duties and responsibilities, then you got the wrong people on your staff. You have people that you trust, that are conscientious, that want to do a good job. You try and let those guys do their job. Try and give them some freedom to be able to handle their job and do their job. But you did a great job with it.
I appreciate it. Hey, if you're looking for a football ops guy, I know a guy.
Skip,
I'm a constant free agent, Coach.
This is an unpaid appearance. You realize that, Skip, right?
I was afraid I wasn't going to get my check if I didn't throw some.
Well, how about a beer one night sometime?
I would love that. I think this is awesome what you guys are doing. I really think this is awesome what you guys are doing. And like I said, you start with family and football. You know what?
Hey, one question for you. I did have this. When you were at Florida State in 1987, you came to Florida State in 1987. Who were the other this will be good for Shane and I. Who were the guys that you were GAs with?
Well, you had Pat Milligan.
Okay.
Pat Milligan was on the defensive side. You had Mark Richt. Was one of them. Mark and I we shared a desk. We were kind of office mates. You had Jamie.
I know who you're talking about.
Offensive line. God dog it.
Was Jay Perkins there?
Jay Perkins. Jay Perkins Jay's the one I'm talking about, not Jamie. Jay Perkins was there. You had Bob Stinchcomb.
That's right.
Bob Stinchcomb was there. I mean, you had. I mean, there was a great group back then. You got 5 of them.
Yeah.
So there was a great group of guys, and that's where all the work got done. That's where we had a phenomenal staff, as y'all well know. I mean, there was just a phenomenal staff, and the stability of everybody being there, from McDuffie and Richt, and you had John Eason and Jimmy Sexton, or Billy Sexton. And then defensively, obviously, you had your father, and then you had Mickey Andrews and Chuck Amato. And I mean, just some great people were there. Those were phenomenal memories for me. And, when I first went there, I went to be a GA because I wanted to see if football coaching was what I wanted to do. And I don't know that you could have found a better place to go enjoy doing it with a better group of people than right there at Florida State. And so I was blessed because I was ready. I'll tell this quick story, and I talked about it at the very beginning. I had written a bunch of coaches to go be a GA when my football days were over. And I had pretty much accepted a job at UCLA with Terry Donahue. And my college roommate at Notre Dame, Tim Kempton, was drafted by the Clippers and living in Redondo Beach. And I was going to go to LA, GA at UCLA, live in Redondo Beach. I was a little excited. Let's just say that. I was after living in South Bend, Indiana for the last 4 years, I was kind of excited to be moving to Redondo Beach. And I was supposed to start there at the end of the spring, and I graduated at mid-year. And then that's when my mom called me, and she said, this is back when phones were on the wall. You know what I mean? You didn't have a cell phone. And said, Coach Bowden called and wants you to reach out to him. So I called Coach Bowden, and he said, Skip, I was with your father, and I know you had written me about a GA job, but I didn't realize you graduated at mid-year, and I have a spot open now. And I thought, oh, shit, really? I mean, like, I was going to take the spring off, travel, go to California, work at UCLA. And he said, well, I have a job here now if you want it. Well, how do you tell Bobby Bowden no? You know, I mean, it was like, I said, Coach, when does school start? And he said, tomorrow. And I said, I'll be there. And I hung up the phone, and I remember thinking, what in the hell did I just do? I just had to call my roommate from college, tell him I'm not coming. I'm going to Florida State. Got on a plane, flew down there, walked into the football office, and that's when I met Jennifer. Was the first person I met walking in the door. And that's why I always say, God has a plan.
That phone call changed your life in multiple ways.
Without a doubt. I mean, that one phone call, that was the fork in the road, but what a blessing. You know what I mean? Yeah. What a blessing.
Coach, listen, I know we kept you for a long time, and we appreciate you jumping on. Hey, listen, anytime you want to come back and talk college football, which is all we want to do, we'd love to have you back on. Love to get your thoughts on some of the bigger games in college football. Just so you know, LSU is my SEC championship pick. So,
there you go.
We did our picks last week, so we'll be pulling for your team on Saturday night. That's that game. But listen, man, I really enjoyed it. It's been too long since we caught up. So happy for all your success and where the kids and the family are going, man. It's awesome, and I really did enjoy my 3 years working for you. It was 3 of the best years of my life. I think working in college football is one of the most unique things you can do, or working in football. And but I appreciate you jumping on and spending some time with us.
This has been great. I appreciate y'all having me. And you know what? Awesome that y'all are doing it. I just love it. Like I talked about some of the ventures I'm getting in with my brothers and sisters. I think it's just awesome as we get older and we all go about our own ways. I think keeping family together and interacting as much as we can. And I think what you guys are doing, obviously, with you guys are a lot like I am. We're all the same. We grew up around this great game. We have the opportunity to be around our heroes when we were little kids, and be in the locker room, be on the sideline and see the behind the scenes, the opportunity to be involved with it while we were in college, and then to be able to be exposed to it in coaching. It's part of what we've done our whole lives. And so I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. I appreciate you having me with everything. Would love to be back and do it again, but it's great to catch up with both of you.
Thanks, Coach. We appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Appreciate y'all. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. All right, Shane, that was fun, man. I'm glad we got Coach on. I hadn't talked to him in a long time. It's fun to follow his success with the USFL, and it is funny. It's still hard for me to believe that Louisiana Tech made the decision they did. But anyway.
We talked about that a couple of days ago. The expectations of the fan base are one thing, as long as the administration lines up with you. But, yeah, that's crazy what happened to Skip. Got great memories of him just as a coach's kid, right? He's always there's a kindred, spirit to that for me and him. I felt like he's always looked out for me, whether it was working a camp at South Carolina, or even as a kid at Florida State. So I always appreciate Skip, pull for him, and fun to have him on the show. Appreciate you getting that done.
Yeah, man. We hope to have more guests like this. We do want to thank Home Instead, Ascension Sports, and the Mowry Law Firm for sponsoring today's show. We hope to have a lot more guests on like Skip. We really think that, I've really been fired up about that one. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And we'll be back on Wednesday with another edition of the Burnham Brothers College Football Podcast. And we'll see